listeners, we are back after a long hiatus. As always, it is your pal Ryan, along with my co-host and your pal Todd. Todd, good to see you. It's been a couple weeks. How have you been?
It's been too long, Ryan. It was awesome getting to see you back in North Carolina for Nixon's wedding, getting some live podcasts, time going. I've definitely missed it, and I know our audience has missed it as well. There's been a lot of comments like, when do we get the next episode? There's been a lot of requests, so we're here for you. We are excited to be back.
Absolutely. It was great seeing you in North Carolina for the Ball-Freed wedding. Our commissioner got married. And great job doing the live podcast with all the significant others. That was a lot of fun. So really appreciate your efforts there, Todd. Since I've seen you last, I guess we're doing it live. All right, Todd. Well, we were just joined by a special guest. So I guess it is trivia time. And of course, our special guest this week is AJ. AJ, welcome to the program. How are you? I love it, man. We're all playing hooky at work, so love it. And someone else is here. Joe, esteemed guest. Hi, how are you?
What's going on? How are we doing?
Doing great, man.
Joe, for all of our faithful listeners, is the first non-West Park Fantasy League member or spouse to a Fantasy League member to join the pod. Joe, welcome. You're honored. You're privileged. What do you have to say?
Just happy to be here. I think I'm going to do terrible on this trivia since I'm the first non-league guest, so I'm going to get ahead of that now. But thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. If it makes you feel any better, Joe, I'm always bad at trivia, especially Todd's. It's incredibly hard. Before we go into trivia, can you tell me a little bit about your fantasy football background, who you root for, who's your real team, and how your fantasy team is doing this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing fantasy football for, 15 years now. Started way back on the CBS leagues, things like that. I'm a Giants fan, so sorry to Todd on that. We like to stop his team every year. But my fantasy teams, I have 3 this year. I have a dynasty league, I have a keeper league, and then I have a work league. In the work league and our dynasty league, I am in the semifinals. So we are looking good on that. My other league, I am out of the playoffs. So 2 out of 3 is not bad.
2 out of 3, not bad. Congrats on those, man. And congrats on your Giants this year. They're exciting, especially recently with DeVito. So
Ryan, did you know? Ryan, did you know that Joe's in the West Park Fantasy League Dynasty League?
Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for pointing that out, Todd. So I'm sure he knows at least some of the guys by name, have been beating them, hopefully.
Yeah, we have two non-West Park guys, me and myself and Jared, and we are facing off in the semis. So we're rooting for whoever comes out of that one to win it. So
nice. Cool, man. Well, good luck with that. And Todd, I guess the floor is yours.
All right. This week's trivia, we got a couple questions, guys. So, all right, let's kick it off. Here's a simple one. There's just one answer. This player now holds the NFL record for fewest total yards on 20 or more touches in a game. So they got the fewest total yards with 20 touches in a single game.
This happened last week, no?
It's within the last 2 weeks.
Was it? You want me to answer it if I think I got it?
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's Derrick Henry, right? He had 16 yards. Rich.
Yeah, wow. He had, was it 15 or 18? I can't quite remember, but he did nothing good.
Wait, what's the official stat line? 20 touches and 15 yards?
Yeah, I had to pull back up the yards. So it was under 20 yards. It was less than 1 yard per touch.
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
And Dave knows about this all too well because it led to him missing the playoffs and losing.
Yeah, it was a tough look for Tractor Cito season, but
yeah, for real.
All right, let's move on to our next one. Gentlemen, who has the most catches this season without a drop? Most catches, no drop.
Wow, that's a good question. AJ, any ideas there?
I can give a hint if you guys want.
A hint would be great.
He is a rookie.
I mean,
is it Who's the guy from the Rams? Is it Puka? Yeah.
Oh, that's a good guess.
It is not Puka.
What about the guy from Seattle? Najigba? Jackson Smith Najigba? Might have slaughtered that last name.
I don't know if he has any drops or not. He's definitely good, but he is not the answer. Any last guesses?
Jaden Reed.
I love the guess. It is not Jaden Reed. I think he has like 3 drops. It's not been great.
I don't know. I don't know who it is.
Just out of respect for Jalen Hyatt up there.
Jalen does not have enough catches to be on this list. It is actually UNC legend Josh Downs.
Oh, really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
Wow. Indy wide receiver. Okay. Nice.
All right, here's a more generic one that I think you'll get, Ryan. What are the only 2 days of the year in the U.S.? What are the only 2 days of the year with no professional sports games in the U.S.?
2 days every calendar year?
Yeah. Otherwise, every other day has a game. Hockey, football, baseball, or basketball.
Oh, God.
January 2nd, right? Because they do all they have the national championship. It's not a weekend usually, right?
It is not January 2nd, but it's a good thought. Let's hear some thoughts. AJ, what do you got? Close. Not really.
I was about to say.
You got to pick the time period when the least amount of games are happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be summer, right?
Yeah.
Because only one major professional sport is going on. Well, MLS too.
Problem is, it's got to be like the back end of June because July baseball started and they play like every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it is actually the day before and the day after the MLB All-Star game because they require no travel around it.
Yeah. Now that you say that, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Good question, Todd.
All right, last question, guys. Last question. Mike Evans, in his career on plays from within the 10-yard line, has 43 catches. How many have gone for touchdowns?
Got any thoughts, Joe?
I mean, it's got to be a pretty high clip if you're inside the 10-yard line. I would say like 37. I mean, he's huge.
I like that guy. Like Price is Right rules. I'll go lower. I'll go 33.
He has caught 42 touchdowns on his 43 catches within the 10-yard line. Bonus question. What percentage of that is of his career total touchdowns? So he's got 42 within the 10. How many does he have over his career?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, pretty close. It's like 45. He's got 92 career touchdowns. So almost every other catch that he has a touchdown for is basically within the 10-yard line. It's crazy. I just want to know, I couldn't find it. I searched for it, but I want to know the one play that he got tackled within the 10. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, but he was like short by inches or something.
It's impressive he has 90 some odd touchdowns, though, because he's played with some other really good receivers and tight ends. I mean, Brady Eric Gronkowski was there. Godwin's been there. Mm-hmm. Even younger in his career, the Bucs have always had pretty good receivers.
But not good quarterbacks. What's crazier is that he's had like 10 different QBs throw him touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. All right, boys, that's it for trivia this go around. Joe, AJ, thanks for joining. Appreciate y'all's contribution. Anything else you have for the pod?
No, thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you, Joe. Good luck, man.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck in your league as well.
Appreciate it. See you, AJ. All right, Todd, that was fun. Good. Nice. Joe seems like a nice guy. Glad he could be on the pod.
Yeah, he was one of the first people I hired.
Oh, okay. Wow. So he's technically working overtime, being on your podcast. I hope you're paying him to take
something like that.
I wonder how HR would feel about that. Anyway, Let's move on to Week 11 prediction recap. I see that you put in some predictions. Wait, I'm sorry, Week 11. So we're talking. It's coming up on Week 16. So we're going back 5 weeks.
Week 15.
Oh
wait. We just did Week 15. I'm sorry. It is Week 16.
Right. But you want to recap Week 11?
It's the last time we had predictions, Ryan. That the audience wants to know how we did.
That's true. Well, why don't you tell the audience how we did? Let me just bring up my notes and see how I did. I don't even know. How did you do, Todd?
I got another great week. I had 5 of 7. I missed on myself and I missed on Jimmy. I only have myself to blame for that. So all in all, pretty good season so far. Got 67% correct.
I got at least 3 right. I picked my game against Rick correctly. I picked Adler to win. He's obviously won like 8 in a row. And I picked Neil to win. Everybody else, I'm not actually sure. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that you have won the matchup rundown, Todd. So I'm going to concede this season. Congratulations. You're a picking machine. I don't know how you did it.
I was thinking next year we open it up to anyone who wants to participate. So basically just Jimmy and Mike, most likely, but maybe Nixon. We change one of the, maybe we even change one of the pools of money for the league to give who has the best pick 'em score for West Park matchups. What do you think?
Yeah, love it. Sounds fun.
All right.
All right, Todd. Moving on, quality control coach of the week.
Well, Ryan, before we jump in, we gotta, we jumped in really quickly into trivia, so we missed some of the usual conversation flow. I'm interested. How was France?
Thank you for asking, Todd. France was great. Went there with
your first time?
No, I had gone in 7th grade. With my mom went out there for work, and I accompanied her as a little dude. Hung out with an old classmate of mine who was living outside of France at the time. Had a good time. Didn't really appreciate it just because I was a youth, but really enjoyed this one. It was my girlfriend's birthday, so we went out there for her birthday. Had a great time. Did all the things. Went to the Louvre. We had dinner underneath the Eiffel Tower on her birthday. Like as we were walking to the boat that this restaurant is on, the tower was like sparkling. It was really, really beautiful. Personal highlight for me, went to 2 soccer games. That was a lot of fun. Dragged her to both of those, but she was a sport about it. And just had a wonderful time. Got back last night. I can't wait to go back. Have you ever been, Todd?
I've not. The only place in Europe I've been is Dublin, actually. But let our faithful listeners, let it sit on them that the first thing you do when you get back is you get right back into podcasting. We are here for you, Buffalo Boys Maniacs. We're so thankful for you. We prioritize you. But Ryan, France, are you afraid you went too hard too fast? You set the bar high for yourself. Like, what's next year? Are you taking her to outer space? Like, how do you top it?
Yeah, Todd, you raise a good point. This is also something that my boss brought up to me in an earlier call today when I told her about our trip. I might have done too much. I hope not. We have a big list of places we want to go, an ever-growing list. So maybe we can find somewhere cool to go next year. We'll just have to see. But yeah, I definitely went out swinging on this one, and I think it was a big success.
Bravo. I've been back in Raleigh since the Nixon Ball-Freed wedding, and it's been good. I've been going into the office, which has been weird. Commuting takes a lot of time. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
We've gotten to hang out with Emily and Dave. We just went to an escape room on Sunday, and that was a lot of fun with Emily and Dave. It's been good being back. It's cold though.
Good. It's cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, it's nice and warm in Miami. It is pretty cold in Atlanta here too, so I'm sure we're getting the same weather. How long will you be back in town?
Yeah, so we didn't want to drive back and forth or commute back and forth to Raleigh for the wedding and then for Christmas, because we do every other year. We're with her parents and my parents and back and forth. So we were going to be back up here. And Zane, her brother, is back from Japan, so he got back in on Sunday as well. So we wanted to maximize time there. So we just decided to stay. And we're here through the 28th or 29th. So sometime next week, we're going to drive back.
Sweet. I'm coming up tomorrow, so maybe we will see each other.
Why don't we do a live pod then, Ryan?
Why don't we do a live pod, Todd? We could. Could be fun.
But, you know, I also don't want our faithful listeners to miss out on their favorite segment. What are you sipping on? Do you have anything that you're working on in the middle of the workday?
You know what? Just a nice cold glass of water, Todd. I'm a big, as people call you the pod god, I am the water god. Big hydro homie. So yeah, just enjoying that out of a Three Nations Brewing Company cup. I believe Three Nations is a brewery out of DFW, if I remember correctly. But yeah, just enjoying some water. What about you?
I'm just working on my second or third cup of coffee. It is it's Nespresso, so it's one of their pods, and I think it was an El Salvador coffee blend, and it's been pretty good.
Sounds great. I bought a big can of Bolivian coffee beans that I've been working through from Trader Joe's, and I'm a big fan. I love coffee from that region of the world, Central and South America. So sounds great, Todd. Well, cheers to you.
Cheers, Brian.
And let's continue with the pod. Quality Control Coach of the Week. This is usually how we start out things, doing it a little bit differently. And we're also going over the past 3 weeks. Is that correct, Todd?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick the biggest QC and the biggest clown over the past few weeks. So, yeah, this one's for all the marbles, Ryan.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I don't think it's going to be me being the clown coach again, because I have been on a bit of a winning streak. So anyway, I will let you take it away, Todd, but I'm just happy to point that out.
The quality control coach of the weeks is actually going to be Adler. Adler picks up a back-to-back QC award with his 8-game win streak and nimble trades. He traded, I don't know, like 6 or 7 times over the past 4 weeks and navigated his way into a bye week, which he definitely needed, as he would have lost to 3 of the 4 other playoff teams that had to play last week. His 8 wins tie him for 3rd all-time in West Park Fantasy League win streaks.
Yeah, that's huge. Adler, if I remember correctly, didn't start off the season very well, but he's just killed it recently. I mean, he's just been making a lot of really good trades. And I think something we should do at the end of the year is just kind of look over all the trades that were made and sort of score them and see how they actually did. And I think Adler is going to be winning many of those trades. But congrats to Adler. I'm playing his team this week. I think it's going to be a big matchup. I would love to hear your thoughts about it, Todd, but we will move into that later. So for every QC, there must be a CO or a clown owner. Who is your pick for the last 3 weeks, Todd?
Our clown owner this week belongs to the owner who set the West Park Fantasy League record for longest losing streak all time, with 9 straight losses. And it potentially is going to be even longer. It might get up to 10 here shortly. So hold on, faithful listeners. It is, I know everyone's yelling out to their computer right now, or their podcast of choice. They're saying it's Jimmy. Jimmy, you're the biggest loser. You're the biggest clown. There's nothing more to say.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Todd. I mean, what do you say? I feel bad for Jimmy. He's a sport. He's one of our most active owners in the league, and you really just hate to see a guy down on his luck, but truly he is having a bad run right now.
It just goes to prove that, effort and attention and waiver moves, they don't produce champions. Luck does. Just look at Doug's roster.
Well said, Todd. And moving on, do you have some quick hit stats for us? I know the people love the stats.
All right, I've got one quick hit for the NFL that I just think is wild. So since 2000, the Cleveland Browns defense leads all defenses in defensive success rate at 67.2%. So they are just crushing it down in and down out. It's incredible. But moving on to the West Park Fantasy League quick hits, I got several for you, Ryan. I'm going to pitch this as a question, a little bit of trivia. There are two owners who have not won the head-to-head matchup in week 14. Sorry, there's one owner. Who is the only owner that hasn't won in week 14 since we switched to head-to-head matchups? So we have 3 seasons. We just got out of week 14. There's only one owner that hasn't won in week 14 in the past 3 seasons.
Okay, so let's see. I beat Doug. AJ lost to Forrest. Hoyle lost to Mims. Dave lost to Rick. That's a big upset. Jimmy lost, obviously. You lost to Neil, and Nixon lost to Mike Simpson.
Just for our listeners out there, to recap, once the league season expanded, we went to a 14-game regular season where you play every owner once, and then you play every owner in week 14. So whoever has the top 7 highest scores, they get a win. Bottom 7, you get a loss.
Thank you for pointing that out, Todd. That is important to know. I'm going to guess the Mr. Newlywed, Nixon?
Not quite. It is actually Doug. Doug has never won in week 14 in the past 3 seasons.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty wild. And it especially hurt this time around. Obviously, he was jockeying for a playoff spot. I was happy to.
In a bye week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, happy to beat him there, and then we played.
It's an important week, Ryan. Losing in week 14 consistently, it reeks of bad ownership, right?
I couldn't agree more, Todd. Yeah. I mean, what this guy does with mattresses, he fails at in fantasy football. Truly, I don't know how you can be so good at one thing and so bad at another thing.
Fair. But on the flip side, there are 2 owners that have not lost in week 14 in the past 3 seasons. Do you know who they are?
Is one of them me?
Nope, you have a loss.
Oh. Is one of them Mims?
Confirmed. Mims has not lost, and that's how he just keeps ending it back up in the playoffs, man.
Yep. Is one of them Forrest?
Nope. The last one is actually Neil. Neil and Mims have not lost in week 14 in the last 3 years. Bravo, guys.
Yeah, bravo. That's awesome.
Another quick hit is that AJ finally joined the 100 win club. He finally did it.
Welcome to the club, AJ. I was glad to see you join our exclusive GroupMe group the other day. Some champagne was flying in there as part of the 100 Winners Club. So, yeah, congratulations, man. Can't wait to celebrate 200.
That means he is the last one of the original, since at least 2010, league members. The rest of the non-100 wins are all post-2010 joinees. So that includes Doug, Hoyle, Mims, and Rick.
Okay, that's interesting. Congrats to the OGs.
All right. Another quick question for you, Ryan. Who has played the most games in West Park Fantasy League history?
Is it the commissioner?
Nope.
Is it Mike Simpson?
It's not. Any last guesses?
The most games? I don't even know if I understand the question.
Yeah. And so it's a bit of a trick question. The answer is AJ. He's played 228 games in West Park Fantasy League history. The reason he has played more games than any other team is that he has never had a bye week in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even thinking that, but that's how you get the most. That's how you get the most games. So yeah, wow.
He never has a week off. Poor guy.
No weeks off. That's what he says. I respect that. Wow. Okay, good piece of trivia, Todd. I like that.
All right, a few other short, quick hits. Mike Simpson currently has 1.38 more wins than expected with his brother leading at 2.29, less wins than expected. So the Simpsons are bookending us in terms of luck and bad luck. I currently lead the league with 186 points left on my bench. I could use some of those points for sure. And Jimmy, coincidentally, leads the league in drafted points at 1534. Maybe he should have just not done anything to his team and just started the guys that he drafted. But get this, Ryan, there's one team with less than 1,000 points in drafted points on the season so far. Who do you think it is?
Well, who's had both bad injury luck, and who has made a lot of trades?
Well, trades doesn't really factor in. It just like kind of clouds it, you know?
So it's mostly just bad drafting and injuries.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like we were all sort of injured at one point. I mean, I know Mike Simpson had a really bad year last year with the injuries. I mean, I feel like he didn't have a great season this year either with the injuries. Is it him?
It's not. He's close. He's bottom 3. It's actually Rick. Rick only has 979 drafted points. The Rick apologists out there at Simpsons, they would say that, Aaron Rodgers going down, that sucks. J.K. Dobbins going down, that sucks. But, I mean, they're not combining for 600 points by this point in the season, so I can just tell you that right now.
Yeah, listen, there's bad luck, and then there's just being bad. And I think Rick is solidly in one of those categories. I won't spoil it for everyone out there, but tough to see. So is that all the quick hits you got for us, Todd?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for those.
Thanks for hitting me.
Of course. And with that, let's move into to the real meat of the episode. Let's talk playoffs, let's talk recaps, and let's talk predictions. I know we've had a few weeks off, Todd. We missed a really important week 14. Unless you want to quickly go back through that, I'm more interested in talking about the first week of the playoffs. Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So obviously the bye weeks went to Neil and Adler. The first 2 playoff games were Mims versus Forrest. Mims won by 2 points. Very, very close game there. The second playoff game was me versus Doug, a rematch of our week 14 battle, and I destroyed Doug. He had some bad luck, but my team scored 129 points. His scored 82. So I moved on. In the consolidation ladder, it was Nixon. This was a crazy outcome, Todd. Nixon over Mike Simpson. They scored the exact same amount of points down to the 10th, yet Nixon moved on. Can you explain to the listeners why Nixon was chosen as the winner?
I think ESPN just does a coin flip at that point, tiebreaker.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a tough way to go for Mike. I don't think it's not going to matter. He's not going to get last place. He'll be fine. That's what can you do? I don't think I've ever seen that this late in the season. I mean, can you remember the last time that happened, Todd, if ever?
No, I mean, that's pretty painful. Fortunately, it didn't matter. Otherwise, I'm sure we'd be hearing a lot more about it.
Absolutely. Then it was Hoyle over AJ, 103-95. You over Dave, 104-81. That must have been nice to rub it in Dave's face live in person. And then, unfortunately, the losing streak continues for Jimmy. He lost to Rick. Wasn't even that close. He lost by 33. That's really tough. So, moving on. Here are the matchups that we're looking at for week 16, round 2 of the playoffs. And we have two major games in the playoffs. Number 4, Mims taking on number 1 seeded Neil, who is 11-3 for the season. I guess let's start out with this game there, Todd. Right now, ESPN has Neil winning by 11 points. I can't remember how they did facing off during the regular season against each other. But for my money, Todd, I think it's really hard to pick against Neil at this point. He's been so dominant this season, and I think the only thing that's really going to take him down are just massive injuries. What are your thoughts on this game?
Mahomes has been pretty quiet lately. He is 6 on the season, but the past few weeks, I think he's been between 8 or 10 for QB, and that's just not the needle mover that Neil thought he drafted. Kyron's been fire. You got to worry about Keenan being out this week, and Aaron Jones is still banged up. So I feel like Neil's roster has a lot of questions right now that I'm a little worried about. Meanwhile, Mims has UNC great Ty Chandler, who is on fire as of just this past week, and Amon-Ra, Hawkinson. I'd be worried about playing Stefon Diggs. Diggs hasn't been a wide receiver 1, I think, in 6 or 8 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So he also isn't carrying what he should be. So I don't know. Both sides have some questions, but I think I'm going to go with Mims. I think Mims has it.
Okay, big pick there, Todd. And I just answered my own question. Mims actually won their head-to-head in week 6. Mims won 117-113. It was a close one, but let me just give you a few highlights of that matchup. It was week 6, right? Yeah, week 6, Amon-Ra had 24.4 points against Tampa. Really went off there. Stefon Diggs had 15. Zach Moss had 14.9. Lamar Jackson had 17. On the other side, Mahomes had 17. He was projected to have 24.5 against Denver. Obviously, he didn't match that up. Adam Thielen went off against Miami in a massive loss, but he had 23 points. Keenan Allen had 18 points. The Falcons defense had 10. And Deebo Samuel had 1 point. So, he got the tough end of the stick there. But I'm sticking with Neil. I think he's going to pull this one off. Moving on, it is my matchup against Adler. I am ranked number 6, going in last place winners bracket team, but we had a good win against Doug. Got some momentum behind our sails there, Todd, and playing number 2 Adler, who is on a massive winning streak. We met in week 10, and Adler beat my team by 7, 126-119, a high-scoring affair. I see that Adler just added Tyler Bass as his kicker. He didn't have a kicker going in for a while. I am projected at 110. He is now projected at 102. I can't not pick my own team, Todd, so I think we're going to pull it out. I hope we do on a journey to 3 titles in a row. How do you think I'm going to do here?
I like Adler's team a lot, except for the fact that he's starting Thielen this week, and Thielen hasn't been much of anything in the past few weeks, really, since what's his face, Frank Reich got fired. Javonte Williams is also a fraud. He has had something like 19 touches per game, but only eclipsed 9 points 2 times in the last 8 games or so. So he doesn't have a big ceiling. Obviously, Hurts, Gibbs, Kupp, McBride all have big ceilings. So definitely some guys that can carry the day. Baker can't play in Lambeau and have a perfect passer rating every week for you, Ryan. So you can't count on him. CMC, obviously, you can count on, but the Ravens defense has been super impressive this year. Outside of that, I feel like Adler has a couple more guys that could blow up than what you have right now. I'm a little worried about Pacheco's injury, coming off of it. So I've got Adler here.
If I can ask you one thing and sort of like a what you would do here, Adler is currently playing the Bills defense against the Chargers. However, he also has the Jets defense against Washington, who has not had a good season, and who has been really good to play if you're playing a defense. If you were him, who would you be starting here?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Bills have lost 3 or 4 guys in their secondary, so they're definitely banged up and can be beat with a big play. The Chargers might have that bump from having a different coach coaching for them. It's tough, man. I might do what he's doing here with the Chargers, but I think it's 2 good options, so you can't really go wrong.
Absolutely. Moving on, it is the winners consolidation ladder. That of course is Forrest versus Doug. ESPN is projecting Doug to win by 1.5 points. A real close game here. They last played in week 10 against each other, and Forrest won by 12 points in that game. Who do you like here, Todd?
Forrest. That's it.
That's it. Okay. I'm seeing some questionable marks next to Tyreek Hill and Nico Collins for Doug. I mean, if those guys don't play, it's gonna be tough sailing. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll pick Forrest too.
Fair.
And moving on into the consolidation ladder, there are a few games that don't really matter. So I'm going to go with the Sacco game and move up. We have Jimmy, who we talked about earlier in the show, really bad losing streak right now. He's going up against Dave, who has not been very good recently either. They last played in week 5. Jimmy killed Dave 127-92. Things are a lot different now. Dave is projected to win 103-98. How do you think it's going to go, Todd?
Man, that's actually poetic, Ryan, because I think that was Jimmy's last win. I think he went 2-1-2. I think week 5 would have been his last win on his skid to a 9-game losing streak. And just to remind the audience here, we've got 4 teams that could win and 4 teams that could finish in last place. So Dave and Jimmy, and then AJ and Rick. I think the Vegas odds right now are for Jimmy to be playing AJ. I think, looking at the actual matchup for Dave and Jimmy here, let's see what they got.
Yes. Sorry, Todd. I'm going to go with Dave here. I think this could be actually a really close game. I do like Justin Fields against Arizona for Jimmy, and I do like Eckler against Buffalo. Olave could have a big game against the Rams defense, Rams secondary. But yeah, I'm picking Dave here.
I think Dave wins. I think it's a bit of a shootout with Dak in Miami, and hopefully another big week for Jordan Addison, who is currently wide receiver 15 on the year, Ryan. That's incredible. I did not predict that before the season started. But he is starting Tyler Boyd in his flex, and you can't feel great about that, even with Chase being out. Eckler is done for. Maybe Achane goes for another 50 points. I don't know. I just struggle to see how Jimmy wins here.
Yeah, another intriguing matchup at the bottom of the table. It is Rick versus AJ. This is obviously an important one because these guys don't want to be in the last place game in week 17. Most likely playing Jimmy. Sorry, Jimmy. But if you remember, Todd, Rick actually beat AJ pretty badly in week 6, 111-85. And I think I like Rick's team here. Joe Flacco, questionable against Houston, but I think if he plays, he could do pretty well. Chuba against Green Bay, maybe another good matchup. I don't know. I'm picking Rick, though.
Did you know, Ryan, that that last week Tyler Algier had more touches than Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts combined?
I didn't know that.
Bijan has like 2 games this season with less than 1 point scored. He's just so hit or miss. I love the talent. I hate the coaching. I know AJ does as well. So it's hard to count on him blowing up. And then Nick Mullins. I mean, come on.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
I mean, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, and Laporta might be able to carry him, but with Hill being hurt, I think Jalen Waddle gets a lot of attention here. Flacco's been doing really good. AJ Brown's still a stud, so it's gonna be AJ and Jimmy battling it out, and I hope it's Jimmy because AJ just won't do a good last place punishment. So Jimmy's our last hope.
Yeah, for sure. Also interesting that AJ is fielding three quarterbacks. Obviously, he's starting Nick Mullins, but he has Levis and DeVito on his bench. Not really sure what the play is there. He also has Justin Herbert on IR. Is Justin Herbert out for the season?
No, he should be back, right?
He should be back next week. Okay, I see. All right. Well, he still has three quarterbacks on his roster, which is interesting. Let's talk about your game, Todd. You are playing the Fantasy Academy, Uncle Mike. How do you like your chances in this one?
I mean, my team is mostly healthy finally, and I think we're in good form. We had a great week last week. I think we'll continue on that route and pick up another W here.
Yeah, I think you've got the slight edge for me as well, Todd. You did beat Mike in week one. Mike had an awful week one. He only scored 67 points. You scored 91. Not great, but obviously better than 67. Mike is projected to have 107 in this game. He is starting a couple Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm hoping that Pittsburgh's defense shows up and plays Cincinnati close. I feel like we tend to do that when it's divisional games and we don't get absolutely destroyed, but who knows? Steelers have had a god-awful season. So,
yeah, I mean, ETN, the Jags have the second lowest rushing success rate. They cannot get anything going on the ground. You know, ETN looked like a monster to start the season with all those touchdowns, but they're actually not running the ball well. It's really hampering their throwing game. And they're going against Tampa Bay, and Vita Vea should be back. So it's not looking good for ETN. The receivers for Trevor Lawrence have the second most drops. It's basically the Chiefs and the Jaguars for just being trash at receiver. But, you know, they for whatever reason, the Jags have, you know, a couple of big names and they're still dropping the ball. So they're not doing any favors. Can't count on Garrett Wilson. Jake Ferguson's obviously great, and T is probably going to heat up, but definitely not enough for Mike to overcome my team.
For sure. And last but not least, perhaps least, speaking of games that don't really matter, it is Hoyle versus Nixon. Nixon is projected to win 111 to 104 right now. In week 6, Nixon beat Mike 102 to 86. I think Nixon has this one. What are your thoughts, Don?
Yeah, I mean, Nixon is, you know, he's the king of the losers. He's the cool kid amongst the
nerds.
You know, yeah, the nerds. He's what I mean by that is he finished 7th, just outside the playoffs. Really caught the low end of the stick there. So I mean, all things considered, he has a good team. Josh Allen's been on fire. Pollard's still good. Pittman's might be able to stand up. I don't know what's going to happen with Pittman after that hit last week, but did you see that they upheld the full season suspension for Kazee? I think that's his name, the safety that hit him.
Yeah, the Steelers safety. I was reading that, and just to let you know, I have not seen the hit. I was obviously out of the country, not paying attention to football, so I didn't even see it.
He's Scorpion, dude. His body was a U, and not in the way that you'd want it to be. That's for sure. But you know, it's so bad that like usually they always get a couple games knocked off the suspension. I mean, what is that? So week 15, or week 16, 17. I mean, just 2 games can really knock a whole lot off. But that also could be the playoffs. I mean, Tomlin always makes the playoffs, right? So not getting that reduced, I think was pretty telling, and I'm here for it because that was a real trash hit, honestly.
Well, I'm definitely going to watch the replay of it, and I'll let you know my thoughts. But yeah, like you're saying, if the league upholds it, that means it's probably pretty bad, and I'm sorry that happened. All right, Todd. Well, that is it for our matchup rundown for Week 16, Round 2 of the playoffs. It's going to be a fun week. Can't wait to watch. Got 2 games that I'm really looking forward to watching. One that I am part of. Going for 3 in a row, Todd. I think you were the one that told me earlier in the season when I was sort of wavering and things weren't really looking up, and you said, hey, as long as you limp into the playoffs, it's a whole new ballgame. And sure enough, things are looking good for me. So, yeah, I hope I can continue my success. Good luck to you. Anything else you'd like to say to the people at home?
Yeah, definitely. I just hope everyone has an awesome Christmas, that they can have a special moment like when we were kids and we opened up a N64 with Super Smash Brothers on Christmas Day. I mean, there's nothing more foundational to a 90s kid's childhood than getting their N64. So I hope everyone can have a moment just like that this Christmas. And, thank you for listening. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners out there. The last thing I have to say, Ryan, don't get buffaloed.
Happy holidays, everyone.